Well, that was a bust. The Chiefs picked a lousy time to play their worst game of the season, a 31-9 loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. We're here to talk about it on SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Monday, February 8th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. Star columnists Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian joined beat writers Sam McDowell and Herbie Teope in discussing the game. Let's just get right to it.
Welcome to SportsBeat Live, the Kansas City Chiefs post-game show, where the people who cover the Chiefs for the Kansas City Star chat about what happened in the game tonight. And guys, there is a lot to talk about after the Chiefs' 31-9 loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Super Bowl 55. In the house right now, we have Sam McDowell and Sam Mellinger. Joining us pretty soon will be Vahe Gregorian, and Herbie Teope, I believe, is in the house as well. So we will. There he is. Hey, Herbie, how you doing?
No, he's muted.
All right, that's a trick we like to play on Herbie every other week or so to mute Herbie, but we'll get that. We'll get the audio fixed pretty soon. Vahe Gregorian will join us here in a moment too. But the star of the show is you guys with your questions and comments. Please send them along. I'm sure you got a lot to talk about tonight after the season-ending loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It would have been a season-ending victory if they had managed to win it. Either way, season's over. And this one leaves a bad taste in the mouths of the Chiefs and their fans. I'll tell you what, guys. I thought before the game, I thought if you had given me the choice of possibilities of the Chiefs winning big, the Chiefs winning in a close game, the Bucs winning big, or the Bucs winning in a close game, I'd have taken 3 of the 4. The only one I would not have taken is the Bucs winning by a big margin, and that's exactly what happened. So, Sam, since you're the only one here at the moment, you're the only one that hasn't bailed on us. So let's get your early impressions on what happened. Let's start. I don't know where to start because there were so many places you can start with the mistakes and the gaffes that the Chiefs made, but. Just your opening thoughts, and before you do, let's just say that we'll address the events of Thursday night and how they might have played into the game a little bit later with Sam and Melly and Vahe, and I know you wrote a little bit about that too. But let's just right now talk about the game itself, and how about your overall impression, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, for a 31-9 football game, there's a lot to discuss and a lot to talk about. I guess the headline everywhere but Kansas City is going to be that Tom Brady won his 7th Super Bowl, and Tom Brady beat Patrick Mahomes in this quote unquote potential best quarterback matchup in Super Bowl history. But here in Kansas City, to me, the Chiefs did not lose the game because of that guy. Tampa didn't win the game because of Brady. The Chiefs lost this game because their other 52 were not nearly as good as the Bucs' other 52. And if you need proof that one guy alone cannot win a football game, you got it tonight. There were plays where, and it was not an effort issue, it was an execution issue, where it seemed like Patrick Mahomes was playing one on 11. He made 2 miraculous throws for touchdowns. They were both dropped at the goal line. Obviously, the offensive line was an issue. The Bucs defense was fantastic. Even the Chiefs punter had the yips tonight. So that's there's a whole collection of things we can go over for why the Bucs are celebrating tonight, why the Chiefs have a quiet flight home, but it's not the Brady Mahomes matchup.
It sure wasn't. I'll throw one stat out there that's not part of any official stat sheet, but I saw it on the Next Gen website that Patrick Mahomes covered 497 yards of scrambling tonight.
Jeez.
497 yards of scrambling. So, hey, Herbie, can you hear us now? No, still can't hear you, Herbie. Sorry, buddy. And you got so much to say. I can tell. So, Melly, while you were rebooting, we asked Sam McDowell where he thought things went wrong. Let's get your thought on where things went off the rails for the Chiefs tonight.
Offensive line, man. I mean, I just thought the line of scrimmage both ways. I mean, this was something that I think we had talked about a lot during the week. Is if if the Chiefs could pressure Brady, the Bucs weren't going to be able to score a lot. If the Chiefs could protect Mahomes, the Chiefs were going to score a lot. And the opposite of those things happened, right? Like I saw a stat. I think it was ESPN Stats and Info that said Mahomes was pressured on 29 of 56 dropbacks, the most in Super Bowl history. Well, not Super Bowl history, but since they've been, recording that kind of thing. And Brady was pressured 4 times, 4 the whole game. I mean, that's the whole deal, man. Like Tom Brady is if you can get to him and hit him and all those things, he's not what he used to be. But if you let him just sit there and play action you and pick you apart, then he's the best that's ever done it. I thought that's where the game was won. We talked about the offensive line being a thing with all these, the injuries that the Chiefs has had, and I thought that showed up in a major way.
To add to that stat that Sam said of the 29 pressures, the Bucs only blitzed 6 times all night. Those pressures came with just rushing 4 all night long.
That's amazing. And Millie, you're right. To me, the game was going to turn on. Mahomes has the best quarterback rating in the NFL when he's pressured, and Tom Brady has among the worst in the NFL when he's pressured. Chiefs didn't get enough pressure on Brady, and it wasn't the Bucs' pressure that got him to me as much as the way that the linebackers and the defensive backs, the secondary, played for Tampa Bay. They didn't allow anything on the outside. They didn't allow anything deep middle. Remember the regular season game, how easily the Chiefs were able to go over the top on Tampa Bay. That was not available there tonight. And I thought the speed of the linebackers was a big factor for Tampa Bay, and really hurt the intermediate route. So, what did Mahomes finish? He was it 26 of 47 or 24 of 47? I can't remember exactly what it was, but
26 of 49.
Okay, 270 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, the lowest quarterback rating of his career in the big game. That's going to be a tough one to live with.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought Levante David, just to build on that a little bit, Levante David I thought had a great game at linebacker for the Bucs, covering knocked down some passes for Kelsey, closed some holes that I think have been there for the Chiefs in other games. He was terrific.
Chiefs without a touchdown. Did you ever think you'd see that?
No, Blair. At one point in the third quarter, bless you. At one point in the third quarter, I actually wondered, how are the Chiefs going to score? And I don't recall ever thinking about that about a Patrick Mahomes team. But the Bucs were playing zone on almost every first and second down, and third down they would mix it up a little bit. And Andy Reid even acknowledged that post game. But Mahomes said it was almost identical to what the Bucs did in the second half against them in Week 12. And to me, that's got to be one of the more disappointing things for the Chiefs, is this was the defense they expected to see tonight, and they still could not solve it. You mentioned the speed of the linebackers. That certainly played into it. And, I'd like to see the tape, because usually on zone defenses, when your quarterback's scrambling, that's when a guy can maybe get open a little bit more. We've seen that happen so many times with this team. And for Mahomes to scramble and guys still not to be able to move toward the sideline or move in his direction and get open, how many times did we see him throw the ball? And we're so accustomed to thinking, well, somebody's going to be on the other end of that, and nobody was.
All right. Okay, Herbie, let's give it another shot here. All right, well, Beth is gonna figure this out. Maybe a smoke signal you can send up, Herbie, and we'll figure it out from there. Hey, let's turn it around to the other side. I thought the Chiefs had the single best play of the game tonight, right? Damian Wilson with his tackle on the basically the goal line stand tackle of Ronald Jones, left the score. This is early in the second quarter. Leaves the score at 7-3, and things hadn't been going the Chiefs' way really up until then. And I just thought, what a great moment this is to get a big stomp from your defense, a goal line stand in the Super Bowl. And the Chiefs are now at the 1, and I thought, boy, this will be epic, right? A 99-yard Chiefs drive. We've seen things like this type of magic happen with Patrick Mahomes, and they pick up one first down, right? Little catch and run to Tyreek Hill, and that's it. And so they punt away, and that begins a series of adventures for the Chiefs that I think over the next few minutes just totally changes the game. But well, let's go over them really quick. Chiefs end up having to punt, though, on the 56-yard punt by Tommy Townsend. Ben Neiman's called for holding. I forgot what the penalty was. I think it was holding.
It was.
So they have to re-kick it, half the distance to the goal, and then Townsend shanks one, right? It goes 29 yards?
Yep.
And I believe this is the series where the Chiefs look like they're going to get out of it. Or am I mistaken? Is this the series where they get the interception?
They held them to the field goal.
Yeah.
And then it was offsides on the field goal.
It was
right.
Interception first, yeah.
Yeah, they get the second interception by Tyrann Mathieu, and by all accounts, a really cheap, pass interference call on was it Charvarius Ward?
Yep.
So wipes away the interception. Chiefs still hold him to a field goal, but Antonio Hamilton's lining up offsides, and the Bucs turn that into a touchdown. The second Brady to Gronkowski touchdown, and at that point, that's when I started to feel like, man, I don't know. The Chiefs just made a ton of mistakes on this in this particular moment, this sequence of events, and I don't know if they can get it back. But still, even at this, right, it goes to 14-6, and then I know Herbie. Listen, I don't know if Herbie can hear us yet, or we can hear Herbie, but I know he wrote about this. The Bucs get the ball back with 55 seconds to go in the half, and they hand the ball off to Leonard Fournette for no gain. And it's becoming apparent to me that the Bucs are content to go into halftime 14-6. But Andy Reid started using his timeouts and passed a 34-yard pass interference penalty on Bashard Breeland, and then another pass interference penalty. This one against Tyrann Mathieu in the end zone. And the Bucs are in business. They punch in a touchdown right at the end of the half, and what a disastrous second quarter for the Chiefs. And penalties had a lot to do with it, didn't they, Herbie? All right. I think we're.
Hey, Blair, just real quick, that whole. The shank punt, the Neiman hold, and then the reason they had to punt is that a ball bounced off of Kelsey's hands on third down too.
Yeah.
Just to add to the self-inflicted stuff that they had going on.
And the reason the hold happened was because Ben Neiman had to block for an extra 2 seconds because Tommy Townsend dropped the punt.
Right.
And he had his block set, and he had no idea why he was still blocking, basically, instead of running downfield to go chase after the punt. But Blair, I feel like all of that is worth dissecting. But to me, what stands out the most is those timeouts at the end of the half. I thought that I wouldn't have called any timeouts. In a usual situation, I give Patrick Mahomes as many chances as possible. In this situation, you've only scored 6 points the entire half. I don't know that there's a lot of evidence there that you're going to be able to go deep because of the way the Bucs have been playing the whole half, which it's going to require you to hit the sidelines and to hit some deep passes in order to score there at the end of the half. You've done neither all game long. I also feel like that the half has been basically a disaster for you, and you're only down 8 points and the ball's coming your way. In my opinion, just get out of there. Get out of there down 8, regroup, adjust your game plan based on what you've seen from the Bucs at half, and you got to feel pretty good about your chances. So I didn't like any of the timeouts, but particularly that 3rd and 2 timeout. as soon as they called that, I just thought this feels pretty ominous. The chances of the Bucs scoring to me at that point became greater than the chances of the Chiefs scoring.
Yeah, look, you guys know where I'm at on this. It's hard for me to be too critical of the Chiefs for being aggressive. So I'm not going to use a column to rip them for that. But as soon as I called that timeout, even the first one, I remember turning to Vahe and be like, "Ooh, really?" Because what was in my head is everything that you just said, Sam. But also when they went for that 4th and whatever it was in this stadium, the Sunday after Thanksgiving, it was sort of, wow, what's going through your thinking? And Andy says, I learned a long time ago, you never give 12 another chance.
Yeah,
calling those timeouts, that gives 12 another chance.
I was surprised that with 55 seconds to go and Tampa Bay has the ball, their first play is a run up the gut.
Me too.
That Chris Jones stuffed for no gain. And I'm thinking, wow, Tampa Bay's content here. That's a gift to the Chiefs. Take the gift. I imagine right after that play, if the Chiefs don't call a timeout, the Bucs are going to take a knee on the next snap, and that's the half. And you're right, Sam. They get the ball to start the second half, and after what we would have termed a real disappointing first half, and but at that point, now it's 21-6, and you just feel like, oh my gosh, and look, the Bucs they did the same thing 2 weeks earlier in the NFC Championship game just before halftime. They sent their punt team on the field, took them off, and then threw the deep ball to Scotty Miller just before halftime. So,
and that's what changed that game too, Blair. And just to sort of, Sam added a play right before this whole sequence. I'm going to add something right after this whole sequence, which is the Chiefs came out of the second half and they have a 4th and 7 and they kick a field goal. And right off the bat, to me, that feels like a Bucs win. And that's the way the second half is starting. And I thought that already got the momentum going for Tampa Bay in the second half.
Hi, Chiefs fans. This is Clark Hunt. If you have an urgent orthopedic or sports injury, the University of Kansas Health System is open, safe, and has extended hours to see you quickly. You deserve champion treatment from the experts who treat the Chiefs. Request an appointment at kansashealthsystem.com/sportsmedicine. We're proud that the University of Kansas Health System is the official healthcare provider of the Chiefs.
Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening.
Okay, now that Vahe has joined us, let's talk about the issue that we didn't have a chance to discuss because of when it happened and the impact it may have had on the game tonight, and that is the very unfortunate incident that occurred on Thursday night in outside of Arrowhead Stadium with assistant coach Britt Reed, in an auto accident that injured the 5-year-old girl and put her in the hospital, and we didn't learn about it until later Friday, I guess, after the media opportunities had ended for the week, and tonight was actually the first time that the Chiefs would be asked about it and would say something other than what they issued in the statement that was issued on Friday. So I believe Andy Reid opened his press conference by talking about it without being asked. Is that right, Vahe?
Yeah, he did, and I know Sam McDowell wrote about it immediately, and I was able to write about it in the context of the column I was writing. And I think the thing that I guess I want to say first is that all of us on this call have really been consumed with this ourselves the last couple of days. It felt very emotional in ways that are hard to describe in the brief time we have here. But I thought it was important that Andy spoke to it. I recognize that it was a limited period, but I think there are reasons for that. And I think the other reason it was important, though, was that he treated it with respect it needed to have. I think not only saying his heart bleeds, but also trying to distance himself from any notion of that, totally inappropriate term that would some might apply to the idea of it being a distraction or something. This wasn't something to rally around or something to compartmentalize. Really, it was something that was just a tragic issue that was right here and present, and they had to find a way to deal with. But I don't know where else you could put that for them, if that makes sense.
Well, it altered the path of the Chiefs as they approached the Super Bowl. I mean, up until Thursday night, there was we had nothing but Zoom calls of good and happy news about the Super Bowl. And starting Thursday night and into Friday, I don't know about you, but my feelings about the game changed. Not so much did I think the Chiefs were going to win, but just my thought about how important everything is, and how do we, Vahe, like you said, how do we reconcile all of this? And but it certainly. I know that you and I and Sam down here in Tampa, we talked a lot about it over the last couple of days because it was a big issue, and so it had to permeate the Chiefs locker room as well and be a topic and a discussion point. And you're right, to call it a distraction is not accurate at all. But it was, it I don't know. It was just something else to consider for the Chiefs over the last 48 hours.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think, look, I mean, again, just to reiterate this, I mean, gosh, Sam McDowell and I spoke about this for almost 2 hours on the phone late the other night. And the three of us down here have talked about it. And Sam Mellinger wrote a really important column about it yesterday. And I think it's worth us noting that it's all made our hearts sink, and thus we can only imagine how much it makes the hearts sink of those that have direct connection to it. And of course, we're all thinking about poor Ariel and her family.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I was certainly really excited about this game, and I think it's important to note that the way the four of us get excited about games is much different than a fan gets excited about a game, but we still get up for covering the big games too. And just being part of sort of the big moments in sports history. And I found myself, it became very, 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 very secondary. And the game, like you said, Blair, seemed much less important than what we had all anticipated going into this. And we talk about the word distraction. It might not be proper, but I think it is a distraction mentally. I mean, it's not a distraction from the game plan, and I mean, how much did it affect the X's and O's and that sort of thing? I don't think it's pertinent to get into that. But as far as your mind as a person, I think Andy Reid basically admitted that from a human standpoint, it was a distraction for him. Like mentally, that your mind has to be there. I mean, how can you just completely block something like that out of your mind completely and just focus fully on football? I know it wasn't possible for me during the game. I know these players and coaches have different responsibilities than I do, but throughout the game tonight, I found myself constantly thinking about that girl in a hospital fighting for her life in Kansas City.
For sure.
One thing I want to clarify real quick too. Oh, you still hear me? Just real quick. It's just that no doubt it occupies that place, but I think not putting that name to it was proper from Patrick and Andy's standpoint, not laying it as some sort of, not even excuse, right? But just sort of trying to dismiss it as a factor, I think was important for them to do, even if they were feeling it.
Hey, Herbie, you there? Beth keeps telling me to check on the Herbie, and we do, and we still can't hear you, buddy. Thanks for hanging in there with us, though. That's you're a trooper for doing that. All right, let's. I'll tell you what. I do want to. A lot of people have weighed in tonight, and I certainly want to get to a few of these thoughts. And starting with Todd Bryan at the top. Horrible week for myself for getting COVID on Tuesday. Man, Todd, I am sorry to hear that. Take care of yourself and people around you. All right, John Nell asks, were Andy and the staff out-coached tonight? My short answer is yes. Anybody else?
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hell yes. I would add, yeah.
In a pretty big way. I know that Stephen Logan, it's first half penalties, 1 for 5 for Tampa Bay, 8 for 95 for the Chiefs. I believe that 95 yards was the most ever by an Andy Reid coach team in a half. I think I read that.
Most in Super Bowl history and a half as well.
Yeah, that's great. All sorts of distinctions there. That was great. Which was the worst call? Which is the one that went that you shook? The Chiefs complained. I know that Tyrann Mathieu pretty upset at the Charvarius Ward that took away his interception.
I thought the worst, the most, wrong call. I don't. Sorry, you understand what I'm trying to say. Somebody who deals with words for a living should articulate it better. But the one in the end zone, they called Tyrann for pass interference. I thought that was pretty clearly uncatchable.
Yeah, me too.
But I want to be clear. Well, they did not lose this game because of the referees.
Absolutely.
The Chiefs did not play well enough to complain about. They did not anything that the referees did was only piling on to what the Chiefs did to themselves. They just did not play well enough to have a legit gripe on that. But I do think that they made some bad calls.
Gary Higgins asked, "Is it true the offensive line sponsor is Mr. Softy?" It was a tough night for the offensive line. I had myself convinced that the Chiefs' offensive line, even with the missing pieces, was still an average offensive line. An average offensive line would be able to hold up. That was not the case tonight. Wiley had a couple of holding calls. I think it was a tough night for him. Tough night for a lot of those guys up front.
Wiley even said in his post-game press conference when he was asked about it, he's like, "I don't think it was just one guy getting through. I think it was a few." They had their second-string left tackle, their second-string left guard, their third-string right guard, and their third-string right tackle. So the only starter they had is their center, and 5 weeks into their season, their center got benched for a couple of weeks. So we talk a lot about the fact that they don't invest a lot in their offensive line compared to the rest of the roster, which is true. But this was not the group they planned on having in the Super Bowl.
Well, absolutely not.
It's just a crazy thing because right now it seems so obvious, right? Of course those guys got trucked. It's second and third stringers, but they had made this thing work somehow, some way through the playoffs. And it's just, having your second and third stringers across the line is no way to win a Super Bowl. But, they just put up 38 or whatever against Buffalo. I know Eric Fisher played most of that game, but it's just the Bucs were really able to exploit something that nobody else had.
I thought Fisher's absence was big, though. I mean, I think
for sure.
Rimmers at left tackle is much different than Rimmers at right tackle. And then Wiley at right tackle, it's so evident he's playing out of position. And I mentioned this early in the opening, I didn't feel like any of this was an effort problem. It was purely an execution problem because I've seen some of that go around. Devin White said they were more physical, and that's to me implies that you out efforted the team. And I don't think that was the case at all. I just think that guys put out a position that were just frankly overmatched.
The other problem with the offensive line was it was apparent early that the Bucs were more prepared on the back end defensively than they were in the regular season game. So you think, okay, the Bucs are going to play it like the Bills did, and that would open up some running lanes for Clyde Edwards-Helaire and whoever else. But that wasn't there either. At least the Chiefs didn't attempt it anyway early on. And the only offensive success the Chiefs had in the first couple possessions was Mahomes scrambling for a couple of first downs. Terrence,
it was interesting. There were no.
Go ahead.
There were no run plays called. I'm sorry, Blair. But there were no on that first drive. I think they had 6 plays on the first drive. No called runs. Right, a couple were Patrick scrambles, but it's just kind of interesting tone to set from the start, and they never really seemed to get any kind of real rhythm going. There were a couple times maybe, but you never really felt like you understood what to do offensively.
To add on to that, I thought that the Chiefs should have gone to the run more. You're right. They played them like the Bills played them. The difference is the Bucs had the front four to still get pressure, and the Bills did not. But I thought they should have gone to the run. We saw them do it early in that the opening drive of the second half. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire ended up averaging over 6 yards a carry tonight, right? And granted, he only had 9 or 10 carries. But I thought they should have at least tested to see if that would be an avenue, because that's how they beat the Bills. And they played them extremely similarly to the way the Bills played them.
So Terrence asks how many balls bounced off face masks today. At least 2, right? And we talked about the
2 touchdowns, yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about the Kelsey drop earlier, but the one, at first glance, the one that bounced off of Tyreek Hill's, this part of his helmet, I thought, boy, it must have been tipped or something. I saw it on replay. It just went through his hands and hit his head, and how does he not catch that?
Especially that guy.
Well, he was kind of
like,
yeah.
He just makes he makes contested catches all the time. I mean, that's what he does, and it was a weird miss.
Yep. Chris Clatterbuck noticed that on the second play of the game, and I had this same thought when Shaq Barrett came in unblocked. It was a running back supposed to chip him because Mahomes had to throw it away, and I thought, somebody should have gotten a shoulder pad on him or something. But that was blown assignment, I think, right there.
Blair, that was one other stat that I hope I'm crediting the right place. I think it was ESPN showed at some point that the Chiefs only attempted to chip on 4 downs tonight. And they knew that they were going to be overmatched up front. And so that surprises me that they did not try and give those guys more help. I mean, you don't want to leave Travis Kelce in. I get that. He's your best weapon. But maybe a running back, maybe a second tight end, maybe something. You knew those guys were going to be overmatched tonight.
I thought with the offensive line in the state that it was, obviously not as good as the offensive line that started the Super Bowl last year. I mean, that had Schwartz and Fisher and Duvernay Tardif, along with Ryder and Wisniewski. But I didn't think that the Bucs front four was as potent as the 49ers with Bosa and Buckner in that group. I thought, okay, just both sides of the line would take a little bit of a step back, and the Chiefs would be able to handle it. But the Bucs were just ferocious tonight, and maybe I didn't give them enough credit because that Chiefs offensive line was really, I don't know, it's not what it needed to be. That's for sure. Anybody say anything in the post game that made you stand up and take notice?
I didn't. There wasn't like a one quote or anything, but I just thought it's at least noteworthy. And look, they're not saying anything that we haven't been saying for however long we've been on the show, but there was just a consistent, we got our asses kicked, kind of theme from everybody. And it just, for a team that sort of famously, at least in Kansas City, hasn't lost a game by more than a score since the unicorn showed up. It was just a really weird scene, to see these guys talk about getting their asses kicked, because it's true. They did, but it's just something that we haven't not even close in the last 3 years.
There was a lot of talk already focused on next year that, I think is probably cliche a lot of times for teams that lose in championship games. That for some reason I found it noteworthy with Patrick Mahomes, and maybe Sam should be the guy speaking on this because he talks about how this guy gets motivated by everything, and now he finally has something real to be motivated by. But the Bucs had one interesting quote that whenever I looked back through their quotes from Devin White, their linebacker, he said, we talked about beating them bad. We knew they wasn't physical enough. They're real gimmicky on offense. We don't play like that. We like smash mouth football. And then went on to say that the only reason they scored the last matchup was luck points that the Bucs had given them. So apparently the Bucs were pretty confident going into this game.
Yeah, they were. It's funny, Vahe, you pointed out the tweet. I forgot who it was. It was after Buckner hit the third field goal, and that made it 21-9. And early in the third quarter, and the reminder was, hey, it was 20-10 midway through the fourth quarter a year ago, and boom, 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 the Chiefs just. But I don't know. Even at that moment, I didn't like what I was seeing at all from the Chiefs, and the fact that they did settle for the field goal. I thought that was important, even after giving up the touchdown late in the second quarter, just before halftime. They had to come down and get a touchdown to open the second half, and they end up settling for a field goal there. But but still, it was not out of reach at that point. But then the Bucs get the ball back, and that's when Fournette goes into the end zone, and that's after the Buccaneers punted away their first two possessions, they scored on 5 of the next 6. And the only one they didn't score on was the goal line stand by the Chiefs. So
Jeez.
I just have not. I don't know. Obviously, we're not used to seeing any of this from the Patrick Mahomes team, Andy Reid team. So
two things happened, Blair, in that sequence. One, I do think that conversion from at the start of the half when they just got the field goal and Tampa Bay got the touchdown right away. I mean, that just really made it feel off kilter. And then Sam McDowell had a pretty pithy tweet at one point, just saying you never watched the Chiefs with Mahomes before, where you wondered how they were going to score, and that's what it became. Right. Like you can picture them scoring. It's just like they were smothered from the rest of the game on.
Absolutely. Okay, look, on that depressing note. It's getting late, and we got to get back, and we will pick up this conversation later in the week, especially with Herbie Teope. Herbie, I'm sorry it didn't work out. Technical difficulties. No mas. But hey, we will absolutely talk later this week. Get your thoughts on the game and spin it forward to see what's coming, what some of the bigger decisions the Chiefs have to make in terms of free agents and whatnot. So count on that later this week, Herbie, and we'll say goodnight for now to Herbie, to Sam Mellinger, to Sam McDowell, to Vahe Gregorian, and to all of you guys. Great conversation tonight with so many questions and comments. I wish we could have gotten to more, but hey, it's the end of the season, but not the end of SportsBeat KC, SportsBeat Live and SportsBeat KC. So stay with us, if you will, and big thanks to Beth, our producer, and to the University of Kansas Health System for providing sponsorship for tonight's show. So for everybody, good night, and we'll talk to you again soon.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to our production staff of Derek Donovan, Beth Welsh, Monty Davis, Jeff Rosen, Chris Fickett, and Savannah Smith. Hey, for a limited time, you can subscribe to Sports Pass for 99 cents a month. That's right, 99 pennies a month. And after 3 months, it auto-renews at $5.99 a month unless you cancel. How do you get it? You go to kansascity.com/sportspass2020. That's kansascity.com/sportspass SportsPass2020. Do you want more than just sports coverage? I do. Check out the entire Kansas City Star product. Sports, news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional news, sports, and business coverage with the e-edition. The details for all of these deals can be found at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. And if you're having trouble hunting down any of these offers, send me an email at bkirkhoff@kcstar.com, and I will get you to the right place. So whether it's a sports pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back on Tuesday with another episode.